Who wants to go live with me to talk about the squad and what they've learned and the courses and any success stories or any feedback? Who wants to go live with me? Yay!
Hey, Liz.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Woo, woo. How are you, darling?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. So how long have you been a squatty?
I have been a squatty for maybe almost a year or at a year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful. And how did you find out about me? Did you find me on TikTok or something? Or
So I actually was reading Neville, just
Good.
like happenstance. Actually, I was reading Neville because I was listening to this femininity coach and they kept talking about Neville. And I was like, well, who's Neville? So I started reading the book. Yeah, it was
that
very
was a
weird.
clued up femininity coach.
It was very weird. It was so weird. So I was reading Neville and I got to the part of thought transmission or whatever, however you say it. And I didn't understand it. And so I was like, I know that if she's talking about this book, it must be big. So then I went on YouTube and I initially saw you. And like you always say, you trigger people. And I was like, she's doing too much yelling for me. I can't do her. And so then yeah. And so then I went and I started watching maybe two other creators and I liked them, but it was something about like, I kept saying, they're not like one of the girls, she's knowledgeable, but she was very boring. And so then I was like, I need more information on it. Cause now it was just like, it was in my head. Like, I need to understand this. Like, it was so exciting to me, right? Like I need to get it. So then I was like, I'm gonna go back to that lady. So when I went back to your YouTube, I saw that you had a lot of content. Like, you had so much content. And I was like, oh, I could have a field day with her content.
Right.
So I'm a hairstylist and my services take a long time. They take like maybe 5 or 6 hours. So I was like, oh, I could just be listening to her while I'm like doing my installs.
Genius.
Yeah. So
who wants to chat for 5 or 6 hours?
Right. And I make them stop talking too. Like once we finish shampooing, okay, girl, it was nice to talk to you. I got to listen to my podcast.
Oh my God, I wish you were my hairdresser. I hate having the chit chat. Yeah, okay.
So I started listening to you and I started listening to you and really like just getting it, like sinking it in. And I finally purchased, I think I've almost purchased every course from you besides the body one and the health one.
Really?
Literally. Yeah. And I started with the self-concept. I started with self-concept first, of course.
That's a good place.
And I really liked it. Right. And then I kept saying, do I really want to spend $445 on this Worthy as Fuck for Love course? Do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? And finally, one day I did it. And let me tell you, that course, Worthy as Fuck for Love course, had me in my house on a sunny Saturday, boohoo crying. Literally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, why? Because when I broke everything off with my SP, I literally said to him, I always thought that you were incapable of doing something, right? But when I realized, like, it's not that you were incapable, you just don't want to do it for me. And those were my words to him. So in Worthy as Fuck for Love, when you make us write about our childhood, right? Because at first when this was all happening, it was like, I believe it, but I don't really believe it. It's like, I hear you, but I don't really get it, you know? So it's like, I'm big on information. I'm an educator myself. So it's like, I love information. So it's like, I will research until I can't research no more. So anyway, I was like, all right, let me do this course since I spent almost $500 on it. Let me do it. So I'm sitting there and I started writing and, you know, you ask about your childhood. How was the relationship with your mom? How's the relationship with your dad? How's the relationship with your siblings and blah, 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 blah. And when I was writing about my mom, and because I'm 10 years older than my brother, my younger brother, and 15 years older than my youngest brother. So when my 10-year-old brother came, it's like I saw a different version of my mom. Right. My mom had me at 19, but she had him at 30. Well, she had me at 20, but had him at 30. So now as a child, you don't think that, right? All you think is she don't really like me, right? At 20 years old, you're like, you don't really like me, because my mom wasn't a happy teenager. Her conception of me was not a happy thing. Okay.
Right.
So all this time in my life, I've been telling myself, like, she don't really like me. She really likes my brother, blah, 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 blah. Cool. So I was writing. I'm literally writing, because I'm doing what you're asking us to do. So I'm writing it out. And I wrote the words the whole time. When it was just me and my mom, I always thought that she was incapable of loving a child. But when she had my brother, I realized she just didn't want to love me. And when I put the period there, it was like, oh my God. Like, I every time I say it, like I'm holding it together now, but I usually tear up, because it was like, it's true. Like, it's true. And I didn't realize it until I wrote that. And I was like, oh my God, this whole time, and I kept saying, I think I'm dope. Why can't I get the relationship I want? Not realizing, like, it has nothing to do with who you, like, I think I'm dope. I don't have the story, like, I'm not this and I'm not that. It was more like, you can be all of those things, but you still don't feel chosen. You still don't feel like the one that people choose, right? And I kept saying, consciously, you think, nobody walks around and says, nobody's choosing me. Nobody consciously says that. You're not saying that. You're not saying, I'm not worthy of love, or I don't get picked, and you don't say those things. That's not the stuff you say. Subconsciously, though, you think, it doesn't matter how good I am, I don't get chosen. Doesn't matter what I do, it's still not me. And I didn't connect it really until then. That day, sitting in my house, it was sunny outside. And I remember, like, just boohoo crying, like, oh my God, I get it. You know? So
I think a lot of people doing my courses, I keep saying, if you can just get down to the one belief that you didn't realize you were believing, when you get it, it's like, oh my God, that's why. That's the whole point of all the digging and all the things I want you guys to uncover that I can't even do for you. You can do in the courses yourself, and I can do a coaching call, but you have to really dig. And then when that moment happens, did you then realize, oh, he wasn't doing anything of the sort. He was just reflecting that I believe about me.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally did.
Yeah. And so then did you feel differently about that SP after that?
I did feel differently about him. I still feel differently about him. I still kind of messed it up, but it was more like, for me, because he came back around, and that man gave me everything I asked him for. But then there's another part of that, right? When you are getting everything that you asked for, you still don't believe it. And that was my second, like, that second piece was the other piece I needed to go back and say, I get to experience what I want in my life. Like, it is mine. And it, like, me, everything. And I realized, like, so I know you say things like, from your thoughts to their mouth, back out of their mouth to you. And I used to be like, no, because I would never say that to me, right? Like, I would never say that type of stuff to me. So no.
I'm just saying it.
Yeah, he's just an asshole, actually. So the last time, though, because I had been going through this for so long with you, from, like, I'm going to say September 2023 was when I finally, like, when I started learning all of this stuff, like, right of August, more like August. So when he came back around in, when was that? May of this year? Yeah, May of this year.
So you've done the course, you've done Where This Got to Love, you've figured that stuff out.
Yeah.
You changed your thinking, he came back, but then you still had niggling thinking.
Yeah, in the back of my mind, like, it was like, I couldn't believe it. It was almost like it came, right? And it's like, almost, because when it comes so, like, I think when we are writing out these new stories that we want, or we're imagining this stuff, we're imagining, like, these grand situations, right? So when it comes back and it's just really like, oh, hey, you're like, I mean, hey, you don't really see it as like, this is the thing. Oh, this is the thing I was waiting on. You don't think like that, right? Because they come back in, they're very, just subtle. They're normal because they're not knowing that
it
you've
doesn't
been
have
doing
to be
any
like
of
a
this.
romance movie. It just comes back or whatever.
And
Yeah.
they just come back very normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in your mind, because you've created this very grand, he's going to come in and do this, that, and the third, you start telling yourself like, oh, he's still not conformed, or he still doesn't want it, or he still doesn't da 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 da, and this is still going on. And see, he still doesn't want to be in a committed relationship. He still just wants to be friends. All these things that you're like telling yourself. So, and you're not thinking to yourself that like it's actually here, right? It's here. You're thinking it's not here yet. So you keep telling yourself it's not here. It's not here yet. It's not here yet. And because you're telling yourself, your subconscious says, you're absolutely right. It's not here. So let me show you how not here it is.
Oh my God.
You're
Yes.
absolutely right. He
Thank
doesn't want
God
to be
you're
in a committed relationship.
realizing this. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the second time we broke up, it hurt my feelings, but I could go back and say, everything he did, I said he would do. Everything I thought he would say, I said that he would say. And everything he felt, I felt. And it was an honest moment for me. Because again, before, it was like you don't have anything to base it off of, because you can't really go back and remember all of your broken up relationships, right? You can't really think of that. You can only think of like what they did at that present moment. You're like, I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have done that. Like, I wouldn't have chosen that, right? But then when it happens a second time and you know the information, now you can sit back and say, but let's be honest though, you did think that. You did think that he only wanted to be your friend. You did think he didn't want to be in a relationship with you. You did think that he would go back and talk to his ex. You did think that he wasn't done talking to her. You thought all of those things. And you got to be honest with yourself about that. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, oh, I really did fuck this up. I really did fuck it up.
But the thing is, darling, that doesn't mean you can't fix it or you can't have a better relationship with someone else now that you know all this. The knowledge is the power, right?
Yeah.
Like the power of your awareness. Now you're aware of it. So the next time any of those thoughts creep in, you'll be more aware of them and they won't take over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so when I first started this account, I was in a relationship and those thoughts were still plaguing me. And that SP is not in my life anymore. But I can identify every single thing that I was still thinking when we got back together that broke us up. And I'm like, it now gave me the tools I need now.
Yeah.
Right? The knowledge I need now of the things I'm now very aware I think in a relationship. And when they come up now, I am very careful not to blame the other person. I am extremely careful to think, my mind will still do it. He's doing this, this means this. And I'll go, it doesn't mean anything. It means you're thinking this. He's not doing anything. He has no free will to do anything but what you're thinking. And what are you thinking? You're thinking a whole lot of crap.
Right.
You're thinking the same crap you were thinking last time.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And I'm much more aware of that. So don't beat yourself up and say you've messed it up, because what you've now got is the toolbox for next time. You won't let your mind run you.
Yeah.
And you will have the ability to be so aware of it. It might drive you crazy. It drives me crazy sometimes, my own mind.
It drives me crazy right now. No, it drives
Right.
me crazy because I'm like, whenever I'm thinking of something, I'll be like, no, that's not the case. And I have to calm myself down and be like, relax. Like, you need to relax.
Yes. Yep. You really do. And the thing is, you can go down a rabbit hole that's so extreme, and then they'll just write a text back going, oh, sorry, my phone died or something. And you're like, I've just spent an hour going down a rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Like all those things that you do that has nothing to do with them, you'll be more aware of now. Right? And that's what the purpose of uncovering all that thinking is. So now you're fully aware and you have no one to blame but you if you're still doing it. Not that we're going to beat ourselves up, but we're like, we've got to stop this. Right?
Yeah. And I can stop myself whenever I do, because I'm still working on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm 38 years old. So for me, this has been an ongoing event for me. So it's like whenever I catch myself spiraling, first of all, I do forgive myself and I give myself grace. Like, relax. Like, it's okay. Like, you may be a spiritual being, but you are a human, and this is new for you. This isn't something that you've known. Like, you're almost 40. Like, you've been you a lot longer than you understood who you were. So it's more like I give myself grace, but I also don't let myself slide. Like, when I get into the spaces of where I'm like, spiraling, and I have to stop myself and be like, okay, it's okay, but get yourself together. You know better than this. You know the information. Like, what are you doing? Like, and I prep myself up, you know, like, I'm like, no, you, like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, think about what I always ask myself, think about what you're saying. If what you're saying is true, then that would have to mean that you're this, that, and the third. And are you that person? Are you the person that a person forgets? Are you the person that a person just says no to?
Yeah.
Why would a person say no to you? You know, I like have to talk to myself in that manner, because it is easy to fall back into that sad space, you know, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Especially if you know that it was you, you know. I think it's easier for people to be angry with their SPs, honestly, because it's easier for you to detach when you feel like the victim, you know, like, oh, and they did this to me and I deserve better. And that's so easy. That's the easiest thing in the world, except for, until you get to the part where you're like, oh, it was me. Oh, okay, cool. So I can't be mad at him. Oh, I really got to work on me. Oh, dang, that's hard. Yeah. So
Oh, that's wonderful, darling.
Yelling.
Oh, well, you should put it. What'd you say?
I said I appreciate all your yelling.
Oh, listen, look, I do it out of love, and I know a lot of people don't understand that, but it's because I didn't get this for such a long time. Like, I discovered The Secret in 2004. It's now 2024. Like 20 years of listening to this shit. It only really, really like the penny really didn't drop until just before I started my TikTok, which is 3 years ago. I listened to Neville in 2016 and I thought I understood him. I really did. But the "we are the only cause" thing really I didn't really get it. I still thought things outside of me were making decisions. I still thought things outside of me weren't happening because of some other reason, not me. I didn't quite accept that it was me. And when I did, that's when I was like, I have to start TikTok and say this, because I don't know if anyone's clearly explaining what you're really doing that's causing it. A lot of people are saying you're causing it, but they didn't explain to me, well, how am I? I don't even know how I'm doing it. And because we're so unaware of ourselves, you kind of need someone to give you a bit of awareness. And so that's kind of why I yell and scream, because I'm like, guys, wake up. Please don't be me. You know what I mean? And I don't want anyone to make the mistakes for as long as I did.
Yeah.
You know? So you should really pat yourself on the back that you've discovered this, darling. And in the next relationship, you'll be so aware that you won't ever make those mistakes again. And if you do, and something happens, you can go, oh, I can fix it. You know what I mean? Even if a fuck up happens, even if you get in an argument, even if you give them an ultimatum, even if you break up with them, you'll know you can fix it this time.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. I know that it's all going to come full circle. I don't know if I know I want my SP back, but then I was telling myself the other day, like, I can actually have just about anybody I want. So do you really want them, or do you just want to win? You know, like, that's one of those things that where I'm at now. Like, do you want him? Do you actually want him? Or do you like what he represents? And you just, if you could just meet a new person, would you do that too? Or does your ego just want to win? You know what I mean? So that's where I'm kind of like now.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about some guy that I used to have such a massive thing with. And I thought, what was his name? I actually thought to myself, what was his name? And I had gone to a dating coach about this guy and wanted to get dating coach like advice about this person. I never ended up doing the coaching. I couldn't remember his name. And I thought, this was only like 6 years ago. And I was like,
what is it again?
It's amazing that, like, now you're with other people, you don't even remember that person. But at the time, that person is like so ensconced in your mind, and you think they're the person. It's like, is it the and I'm not saying it's not the person, but sometimes we might have to accept that it's the way they're making us feel and what we want from them that's attracting us. It may not be the person. I can't even remember that fucking person's name.
Or what it represents. What it represents for you. Like, what does that equal to you? If you're able to be with that particular that type of person, like, what does it equal for you?
Right.
And I always say that God didn't make just one. There's more than just one. Like, that's the one that I know, though. That's the one that I know, and that's it. But that doesn't mean that he's the only one. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it doesn't have to be you. It will be what I want it to be. I will not settle for anything less than what I want. But if it, and I'm not doing this or something better.
No,
I don't have a problem with it being you. Yeah, but I'm going to get what I want regardless.
When we put someone on a pedestal and we think they're our everything, I think sometimes when we have this realization about, well, we're creating everything, so I can just make you into the whatever reflection I want, or I can make you into whatever reflection I want. All of you are going to be my reflection regardless.
Yeah.
So when you realize that, it's like, okay, you're wonderful and everything, but you're also my reflection.
Yeah.
So
like,
anyone who's watching this and thinking it means that we're saying don't want your SP, that's not what we're saying. We're saying if you can understand that they are reflecting you, then they can be anyone.
Yeah. Like literally, it is, because it's really not the person. That's the person is carrying, embodying the energy of what you want. Like that's what they are, and they just happen to be. They happen to be the like the vehicle of what you know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's like
and the
a
only
car.
proof you need to prove that. Come in, cat. My cat wants to come in because it's very noisy outside. The only look, when people don't believe that, I think one of the biggest things that I do is I write down things I want people to say. Right? Then they say them, and I think, now was that my reflection or was that a coincidence? Like, no, it wasn't a coincidence. Yeah. I'm doing this. I am doing this. And the more they say the things, the actual stuff I've scripted, like just a line, and they'll put it in a text or say it to me, and I go, right. And it proves to me all the time, just in case I forget.
Right.
No, they're reflecting me. That wasn't a coincidence. That's you doing that.
Right.
Right. So the more you realize that, the more you're like, well, I have control here. And so I'm the only person reflecting shit out. So I've got to reflect the right shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you mess up, I want to say this to you guys. For me, when I messed up, it actually showed me my power. It was like, hey, yo, you're like very powerful. Like this literally, you literally thought all of these things. And that's the part about not running from taking accountability. Yes. If you do not take accountability, you won't even know that you're that powerful. Like it's almost like using your powers for bad. So it's like, you just take a time, like sit down and really think about it. Did you really think that though? Like be honest. Did you really think that? And if you can pinpoint where you were thinking, you know, that this was going to be this, you can say to yourself like, damn, I'm like dope as hell. I'm so powerful. That's crazy.
So it's such a lack of power to still blame them. It's such a lack of power to still be angry at them or be a victim of what's happened to you because you're not getting this yet. Yeah. If you're still doing that, if any of your questions, guys, just this is what Bridget's saying. If you go into the Q&A forum here in the squad or in my free group and you write a question that involves they're doing this, they said this, have you had the same realization Bridget's had yet that you're doing that? Have you had that realization? If you have not, that's why you're lost. That's why you're asking the question, because Bridget has had the realization, oh, hang on. I am so fucking powerful. I am making all this happen. Holy shit. So they're not doing anything. I'm doing it. That's it. That's all you really need to get about this. Then you can't blame them and you can't have an argument and you can't give an ultimatum. You can't even break up with them about something because you're just like, what's the point? Yeah. I'm doing this. Yeah, but I'm not saying in life I don't get frustrated and don't want to tell people to fuck off. Yeah. But I've got to realize I did that. And it makes it easy. It makes your forgiveness faster. Because even let's say you do blow up at somebody, you can step back and be like, yeah, I was mad because I was frustrated because I'm still a human, right? And I didn't really appreciate that. However, I forgive them. You know why? Because there was something in me that was making them reflect that to me. So what is it? And I would prefer that than to be angry with them. And it's still hard, right? Because you are a human. Like I want people not to be so, like you say, woo woo. Like, girl, you're still out here. You still see what's going on. So you might get triggered. But when you get triggered and you might get mad and react. But once you step back and say, all right, yeah, I reacted. Yeah, I cussed them out. Yeah, I wrote a dumbass text. But what was I thinking? Because that's the part. It has nothing to do with them. What are you thinking? And that part for me, this last time of the situation, it has helped me in other areas of my life. Like I had something happen with my business that I was just like, nope, step back. Like what were you thinking? Yeah. Why did this happen? Yep. How did this happen? And how do you fix it? And I did fix it. And it was like, oh, that was easy. Yes. You know, it was so easy. Of course, I don't have any resistance with money and business. You know, it was like everything actually, the breakup and the stuff with my business happened at the same time. So I know why that happened because I was feeling very low. I was feeling very like. And kind of culminated all at once. Yeah, all the things happened. All at once. It literally was like May, he came back around. May and June, we had the absolute best time in the world. July, he was gone. July, I got into a whole bunch of drama with my salon.
And it was just like, what in the world is going on? But again, when I stepped back and was like, what state were you in? You were in a very low state. You're in a very defeated state. You just weren't yourself, you know? When everything happened, you just weren't. And so I can take that and say, this isn't, I'm not gonna say it's not real, but it's not real. It's like, it's something you created, so you can undo it. You just got to get back to the state of who you are. And I would literally pace my floor talking, even anytime I would think about what my landlord was saying to me, I would be like, absolutely not. That doesn't happen like that. Like, that's not how that goes. That it doesn't happen like that. Like, no, that's not a part of the story. I didn't write that. So that's not,
what I say. No, that's not the story. That's not the story.
That's not part of the story.
I say that all the time. Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
say it all the time. That's not a part of the story. That doesn't go like that. Like that can't happen, because that would change everything else, and everything else can't be changed. So that can't happen. So, and I was able to do that. And so now I told myself again, like, you are powerful. And whatever it is that I have with this SP, it's like, that's the part I'm working on now, is fixing my story about him, because I'm doing a lot of work on myself, but I have a story about him that makes me feel like he's at a distance from me, or that I can't do it, you know, but I know that I can, because I've done it before. So it's like, forgiveness.
And have you got back and begging? Have you done back and begging?
Yep, I literally have just about every, I'm telling you, every course you have, besides.
So whenever
besides,
you
like,
have that story, that bad story about him, go back to that first video of back and begging and be like, hang on, I am conscious of a bad story. That's all this is. And he can only be what I'm conscious of. And I'm still conscious of it.
Yes,
right?
And I love the video you just did for for about the past.
Like, change the past,
like you are still remembering the story, and you need to forget it. And it's like, ooh, okay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's look, now that you're aware, and you know every time you're doing it now that you can absolutely have him back, but you're still holding stories.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know.
That's all it is. And you're remembering him wrong. Remembering him wrong.
Yeah. Remembering him wrong is absolutely correct. And like, there's something that you said that it's like, I heard it a different way than probably a lot of people said it. You said in the last video, or the first part, either it was on the first part of rewriting the past, or it was on one of the YouTubes you were doing in reference to it. You said that a person was in a particular state at a moment, and you have basically taken it and made it them. Like, you didn't say that part, but I added it in. And it was like, oh my God, that is crazy, because a person was in a state at a particular time, and you judged them at that moment. And you put, like you said, put your sticky note and said, this person is this type of way. But they could have just like been in a state at that moment. And you took it and ran with it and said, oh, this is who this person is. And so it's almost like me having to undo that, and like, no, he was probably just in a state at that moment. And because of my own personal triggers of what I think about myself, I sticky noted him with, he's this type of person, but he probably isn't that type of person. Right. You know?
And all you have to do is lift them up. There's one video in one of my courses where I'm like, you take them out of this dollhouse,
I think,
and you put them over here in this dollhouse.
Back and begging, or circumstances don't matter, or fuck the 3D.
Where I'm saying, well, there's two states they could be in. This state over here in this house, and this state over here in this house, and you're leaving them over here in the unfavorable state. And you've got to pick them up like a little doll in a doll's house. No, you're over here now. This is the story of you now in this new house. Right? And a lot of you still aren't doing that because you haven't identified what state you thought they were in. Even the state they were in is a state you've assumed.
That you assume. Yeah, because like you said, a person could just be busy, and you've decided, oh, he doesn't want to spend time with me. See, nobody ever spends time with me. It's like, the man is drowning at work, honey. Give him a second. But you created this whole entire, and you ruminated about it, and you kept thinking about it, and your emotion behind it is so strong. It resonates with you. You connect all this stuff to it, and now you're like, and see, he's the type of person that doesn't do this and the third. And it's like, actually, he's complete opposite of that.
It's not even the stories about that. Oh, men are like this, or men who are divorced are like this, or men who work hard are like this, or he's a narcissist, or whatever story you've been given from somewhere else as well. It's like stories about them, stories about life, stories about relationships, stories about men, stories about women, stories about you. And it's like, huh? And the guy's just busy.
he's just busy, and you created a whole narrative, an entire narrative about it. It's crazy. It's almost like I'm like so thankful so thankful, Laws. Like, yes, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I grew up with a yelling parent. So when you say that when people get mad at you for yelling, it's because they're triggered. I'm like, you're a damn right. I am totally triggered because my mom used to yell and holler. She's like, please shut the fuck up. Nonetheless, she's also a person who has helped me a lot. So it's like, I take the good with the bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just turn you
But
down.
you know, the weird thing is my mum used to yell and I don't like people yelling at me.
Yeah.
So
I
it's really
hate
weird
it.
that I do that.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know where I'm thinking in my head. This is a logical thing to do. I don't know. I still haven't worked that out yet. Why I still think yelling is a really good thing, because I know for me, I don't like it. But maybe my mind goes, well, you learned by this, so this is how other people are going to learn. I fucking no idea.
But it works though.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
because for me, like I said, and when you said that, it was like I checked myself, because it was like, yeah, you're right. Like, be honest with you, and that's the thing. I think the conscious manifestation only works for people. Only works for people who take accountability. If you are a person who always wants to blame somebody else, this will never work for you. It will never work for you, because it takes a moment of you stepping back and saying, it's me.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't do it, if you don't do that, it won't work. Like, I know it won't. I have a friend who, she's never wrong. It's never her fault. She never did anything. Everybody in the whole entire world is against her. Everybody in the whole entire world is doing something to her. She's never done anything to a soul. She's very confused as to how her life has ended this way. And I can look at you and be like, if you just give me 10 minutes, I can tell you how you ended up here. Like, if you just give me 10 minutes, I can tell you. But so when I was trying to talk to her about it, I had to stop and be like, you know, you've known her for, I don't know, 15 years. She's not a person who takes accountability for anything. So this isn't going to work. She has to be a person who's willing to take accountability. And until she does that, she's not. So when you say things like, if you're triggered by me yelling, it's because what did you get yelled at as a child? And they'd be like, actually, I did, Loss, and it actually pissed me the fuck off. Right. And so it's like, but I still learned, right? My mom gave me a lot of things I needed, and your mom gave you a lot of things you needed. But it's like, it is what it is. So me overlooking that, and what do they say? Get the meat and spit out the bones is how I feel about it. You know, and if people are able to do that with you, you will literally change their life if they would just listen.
If they would just listen. And that's why I keep saying in my videos, are you listening? Like, stop writing questions. Yeah. Really listen, because I didn't listen. And the reason I say that is because I don't want you to waste time, guys. I'm 47. I don't want you to get to 47 and then have the realization. It's too late. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm already like this. I mean, it's never too late. But what I'm saying is, you don't want to feel like that. You want to have the realization quickly. So that's why I'm yelling, because I don't want you to waste time. I don't want you to lose a relationship. I don't want you to lose the money or the business, blah, blah, blah. I don't want you guys to lose. Right? Yeah. So it's because I care. It's not because I don't care. I think some people hear my yelling and think it means I'm being arrogant or I'm being a know-it-all. It's because I literally am trying to, like, slap you. You know when someone's hysterical and you have to slap them? I almost feel like sometimes I have to go, guys, just listen. Because if you just could stop for a second with all the thoughts that are going, and you could just hear me, you would get this. Like you did, right? And the thing is, your friend, I mean, you can imagine her differently and imagine she gets it. But if she doesn't if she remains in that state, she will get to the end of her life and blame everyone. And it's such a shame. You know what I mean? So I try and lift people out of states when they're like that with me in my life. I will think they get this now, or they ask me questions.
Oh God, Loz, I'm not ready.
Well, I do say that now about one particular person in my life, and then they say to me things like, "Well, things always just work out for you, don't they?" And I go, "Yes, because I think differently from you." And then they go,
"You know what I'm waiting on?"
They look at me like, "How are you doing that?"
I'm waiting on me to do this thing with SP before I change it with her, because she was my, you know, everybody has that friend they go and talk to about their relationships, and y'all both bashed the men together. That was her and I thing. So it's almost like me coming to her now and having this newfound information. She's still like, yeah, no, that's not true, because he said, and so she's saying that, you know, and so it's
but remember, she's your reflection.
She is, and I know.
So she is, and so still reflecting out stories that you must still be holding somewhere. Some little niggling doubts, and they're coming out of her mouth. Because I have,
and the stories I hold
friends
about
like that.
And the stories I hold about her, because I've always been a little bit more optimistic about men than her, for sure. So it's almost like me coming, I think the story I have with her and why she says things to me is because I put in my mind, when I say this to her, she's not going to believe me. When I say this to her, she's going to argue with me about it. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, of course, that's what she's doing. And I know that's what she's doing. So for me, before I start working on my story with her, I gotta see it through for me. Like, I got to see it so I can be like, ha, now I can prove my point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to do that because I do know, like, when I say I get this, I get it 1,000%.
Oh, you
even
absolutely do. I can tell you.
Slip up, yeah, even if I slip up, I stop and be like, you know better than that. You know that's not true.
Very shocked if you'd done all those courses of mine and you didn't get it. I'd be very disappointed in myself.
No, I get it, and I listen to you more so for confirmation now.
Good.
And I hear things differently than I did initially. I'm not listening to it to like revision. I am, because I've always been confused about revision, and I always thought it was weird. Like, no, I
the
like
change
no.
the past will really make you understand that, because a lot of people teach it wrong. But the thing is, darling, you're listening to confirm what you already know. It doesn't mean you don't watch stuff. You're just watching to go, yeah, I get it. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's an extra thing I didn't quite get. But you're not learning for like, I need the information. You're in a different point now.
I'm in a different
space before.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in a different space. Before it was like crack waiting on you to post the video. Now it's just like, oh, let me see what Loss is talking about today.
Right.
Like, that's how I feel.
Right.
You know,
you've got away from that. We're in the group chat and she's gone live and we're alerting each other stage that we used to be in.
Yeah.
That's great, darling. Oh, wonderful.
Thank you so much. Like,
oh,
I'm so happy.
Oh, Bridget, honestly, darling, you've got your head right. So I know you're either going to get that SP back or find a new one who treats you like a beautiful princess, okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Now, do you mind if I put this on YouTube?
I don't mind.
I can cross your last name out.
Yeah, you can actually do that.
Okay, I will. All right, darling. Thank you so much. And for anybody else who wants to do the courses that Bridget has done, they're going to be on sale for $11.11. Guys, remember?
Please get them.
Yeah, as part of
they're the best. Like I promise you, they are the absolute best. And I'm an educator myself, so I don't give out accolades for classes ever.
So you think Worthy as Fuck for Love was the one that like made things
that's the one I feel like that's the one that that Worthy as Fuck for Love for me. If you are here for an SP and you really want to figure it out, I think that course is the one, because it goes so far, especially because it makes you, and don't like, I think I heard you say like people run from the part about their childhood. That's the part you need, because it didn't all make sense to me until I mean, it made sense, but it wasn't like you know how you know something, but you don't know. It's like, I mean, I hear you and you might be right, but I don't really know. But when I wrote,
when you wrote it
when
down,
I wrote that, like for me to have written that, the way I wrote it and remember me on the phone telling this man those exact words, it was like, oh hell. Like, this is crazy. And if you're just doing it, not trying to do it from a place of, because nobody's there but you in the paper. So be honest, like what happened, so that you can really get to it, you know? And I think if a person is here for SP, totally do,
Worthy as Fuck for Love.
Worthy as Fuck for Love. And the other one, what's the other one? The self-concept course.
Well, that's a bundle called the Self-Concept for Love bundle. So on the sale, you guys can get that half price. Well, you've already bought it.
I love it. I love it. That back and begging. I was hoping you was gonna Be Their Priority on there. I'm just still crossing my fingers.
Be Their Priority be out soon. What was that?
I said I was crossing my fingers and praying you loved us, because I'm like, oh, that's what I want.
Be Their Priority be out soon, I promise.
Okay.
That's taken a bit of extra work, so we had to add some things to it and stuff, and time has run away from me this year, and I'm like, oh my god, we had to get that course out ages ago and it didn't come out, but it will be out soon, I promise, guys, but not in this particular sale. Okay.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Bridget. So anyone who wants to get Worthy as Fuck for Love, the bundle called Self-Concept for Love with Kick-Ass You and Worthy as Fuck for Love, it's on sale for $11.11. All you need to do is be part of the squad, the Subconscious Soul Squad, and you get your 50% off discount code. Thank you so much, Bridget. Yay!
You're welcome.
All right, darling, I'll let you go. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, darling.
Bye-bye.
Bye.